Welcome in, Bleav in Commanders podcast, part of the Bleav Network. We are brought to you by FanDuel. Scott Jackson and the former Washington Redskin, number 13, Anthony Armstrong with us. And the man in the middle, Bryant Browning, Bleav in Buckeyes podcast. Good enough to visit with us this week. Bryant, Anthony, thanks for joining us. How you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well, man. I'm excited. I'm up. I'm upright. You know, it's the middle of the week. Can't complain.
Can't complain.
Yeah.
Weekends coming up here in a little bit. Rookie mini camps going on here for the Commanders. This starting up this weekend, and frankly, we brought Bryant in because we had to get the inside scoop on the number one selection for the Washington Commanders, Mr. Sonny Styles. You covered him. You've seen him for the past 2-3 years up there in Ohio State. So please let the Commanders fans know what they can expect from this guy. I hear he's nothing but an alpha. He's a leader. He does everything the right way. How would you describe Sonny Styles?
You guys got a good one. Let's just start off there. Like you said, when you first talk about football, it's funny how much character really matters, right, in football. Because it's a sport. It could not matter at all. But in a lot of instances, if you see a person that has character, you know that they're essentially doing the right thing on the field when you see them. They're also doing the right thing off the field when you don't see them. And that's kind of who Sonny Styles is first. But on top of that, he's a great talent. He has elite size and ability. If you guys see his stature, I don't know if you guys met him in person yet, but he's a big guy. He's like 6'5", legit 6'5", not like I wrote in 6'5". He's a legit 6'5", 240-pound guy. You see how fast he can run. You see his instincts on the football field. So I think you guys definitely got an anchor that could run your defense for many a seasons.
Well, Bryant, we hear about him, obviously started as a safety, made the move to linebacker. As you watched him make that transition to linebacker, how much do you think those skills that he had as a safety in terms of coverage have helped him? Because that has been a huge area of weakness for this Washington team and this defense for a while. Anthony and I talk about it all the time, man. They get burned all the time by backs and tight ends. So to have a guy that size that he can cover, man, that seems like a huge plus.
Yeah, no, the first thing that kind of comes to my mind when I think about the Commanders' defense last year is like Bobby Wagner chasing somebody down the field. And, Bobby's he's like a Hall of Famer, right? But, eventually you get long in the tooth and you get yourself in situations where things come up. But no, so, it's just going to help, right? I think in football in general, the way the game has shifted is all about speed and quickness, right? You can't really hit guys or touch guys no more when it comes to the passing game. So you got to be able to mirror what a guy's giving you. So Sonny kind of coming out from that safety position, that's what he do, right? He know how to hit, he know how to tackle, but he also know how to mirror and guide guys in certain situations. So it just helps, right? He did it at elite level, 5-star coming out of high school. Did it at Ohio State. We played him at safety for a season. And he stood tall in there, had some things to work on, but just due to the way the roster shifted and Caleb Downs coming in town, he goes down to the linebacker position, has to learn. But as the season went on, his first year, you just see him getting better, and better. As this season went on, you see him getting better, and better. So he's definitely a guy that's up for the task. He's know what he's doing, and I just think he gets the size and ability to kind of check a lot of boxes, especially when it comes to covering guys.
One of the biggest things that people have been trying to figure out is who's going to wear the green dot. And they say Sonny Styles has the intelligence. He understands the game, where to go and where to be. How much confidence do you have in him wearing the green dot there? And did he do that in Matt Patricia's defense up there in Ohio State?
Yes, he did. Yeah, he was the green dot guy for us. Obviously, you had Caleb Downs out there as well. You maybe it might have been him, but you wanted to be with a linebacker, someone that's right there in the middle of the defense, and so he took on that task. So essentially, he has experience from a NFL defensive coordinator wearing a green dot and kind of going through that process. He just did it for a full season, so I think that's definitely something that he could be able to kind of take on for you guys. He's always was a verbal leader for us here at Ohio State as well. So, yeah, I think the transition is, as you say, rookie minicamp starts this weekend. Let's not play around. Start with it right now. Give him that task. Let him learn. Let him grow with it. So when the season rolls around, he'll be prepared.
We're talking to Bryant Browning, the Bleav in Buckeyes podcast, former Buckeye himself, Scott Jackson, Anthony Armstrong with you here, Bleav in Commanders. We are brought to you by FanDuel. The other thing you hear so much about this kid is just how, because of his father's background in the NFL, was on that Rams team, obviously, with London Fletcher, and Fletch has talked a lot about him and seeing him. But that's just the football, right? Like this is what they do. They spend time together watching film, and he's a real student of the game. And it sounds like from everything we've heard, like the minute the Commanders folks got a chance to talk to the kid, besides watching him on the field first, they're just kind of blown away, and there was no question they were going to get him. But were you surprised that he fell to 7? Because I kind of thought like there was 2 spots, like, man, Tennessee could certainly use a guy like that. If you're telling me he's the next Fred Warner, you got Robert Saleh there, that just makes too much sense. Then I was thinking about the Giants at 5, right, with John Harbaugh on that defense, what he might like to do there. But I mean, I just felt like it was a gift. I mean, that he was available to this team at 7.
Yeah, it's funny. It's like the draft was, you could start now, right? Start looking at the 27 draft, and people have a board on where people should go and line up and things of that nature. But when it really comes down to it, the draft is just unpredictable, right?
Yeah.
You just never know really what's going to happen and what's going to take place. So that's why I think in general, teams do their homework on everyone. Like this is everyone that's on the board. We got them ranked in these certain situations. If you're doing it by talent, best football player, or if you're doing it by need, right? We need to kind of plug some holes in certain positions. You do the research and you do the homework. So yeah, kind of surprised he fell to 7, but like you say, the teams that you mentioned before them, they got Buckeyes as well, right? Tennessee Titans, they took a wide receiver and Cardell Tate. Giants, they take Arvell Reese and other Buckeyes as well. So it's like, to me, the Commanders did the right thing. They got another Buckeye, right? So I think that's the smart decision, right? But guys fall where they may. But picking the Buckeye is always a good Tennessee to have.
Yeah, it used to be Alabama players. That used to be the main haul for everybody up in Washington. Go down there to Bama, to Tuscaloosa. You got your Deron Paynes and John Allen, right? You used to go get those guys. So getting players that are from premier organizations and programs like Ohio State, where there's so much talent. Yeah. How did Sonny separate himself in a room full of blue chippers, right? Like you mentioned Caleb Downs. He was one of my favorite players in the draft. Cardell Tate went high. Arvell Reese is an intriguing prospect. How did Sonny separate himself amongst all those guys?
Well, like I said, I think, no disrespect to none of these guys, it's just a high character guy, right?
Yeah.
So you start talking about a guy who's a 5-star safety, who's local, right? He's from the Columbus area, and he goes to the big university. It could hinder the way you think about things. Like, hey, I'm the guy around here. I'm the man. I come to campus. I kind of do what I want. I make my decisions. I play where I want to play, right? But he makes the ultimate sacrifice and say, like, hey, let me look at big picture here, right? Maybe me being in safety position, maybe I do need to be down at linebacker, right? There's not a ton of safeties in the NFL 6'5", or maybe none right now. I think the last true big safety that was really good was like Cam Chancellor or something like that, right? So you start looking at his future, right? And his knowledge of the game, and obviously it comes from his dad coming down. But this probably makes the most decision for me, and it's definitely the best decision to make for my program in Ohio State. So you see him kind of do that, make that transition, come down and learn a very new position, and obviously do well at it. If you are a longtime listener of our podcast, Bleav in Buckeyes, me and my partner, Chimney Checkwell, we've been saying this for maybe 2 or 3 seasons, like, Sonny Styles at safety, we might need to get him on the line of scrimmage. Because I like him kind of like an outside linebacker position, just due to all the talent and things that he could bring, his length. He could do it. But, it's like one thing at a time. Safety to linebacker, maybe linebacker to like some of that outside position to do some rushing and things of that nature. I think he definitely has the ability to do so. So, but, I think that's what really separates him. The character, the willingness to try new things, to work at it, and then excel at it as well, and obviously continue to keep the defense elite while making these transitions and him being in charge of it.
Well, that's interesting. You bring the thing up about playing him on the outside, because I remember during the draft process, hearing a lot of that from people saying, well, because they had Reese, he didn't get to do that. But, here's a guy that, maybe, like kind of like Micah Parsons didn't have the gaudy sack numbers in college that he's had in the NFL. Maybe, if they wanted to use him that way. And that's what's interesting, because there's obviously sort of a connection, like from 2 degrees of separation with Matt Patricia, working with Belichick and Flores, and of course the new defensive coordinator in Washington, Durante Jones, was in Minnesota with Flores for several seasons. So how that all might work out, but I'm glad you brought that up. So you think he's got that skill set where he could turn into a guy you could rush and be comfortable about it consistently, or do you think more like of a blitzer, kind of, more in the middle part of the field?
He definitely could blitz, right? We seen him blitz the last 2 seasons, and it's funny. I think that's one of the biggest things that he had to improve at is blitzing. Like I could think back to a game when we was playing Nebraska at home. He almost had like a clear shot on the quarterback, but like due to like not really knowing if he could hit a guy or not, he like kind of let it go. And I was like, man, you need to hit that guy right there in that situation. But he learned and he grew. And then so this year you seen him kind of winning against running backs in certain situations, winning against offensive linemen and blitzer situations. And so now I do think that the next step is get him on the edge. Like I say, once again, you guys eventually see him. He has the size to do it, right? He's big, he's going to be the biggest linebacker on the field. I guarantee you that right now. If you just talk about size and lift in that situation, so him learning to take that 4.4 speed and put it on the edge, getting off his snap count, beating hands off the lineman to get into the end, ended at the quarterback. It is something that he should grow to his game. I think he can grow to his game. And in your guys' defense, I think he would have the opportunities to do it. In certain situations, line him up there and just let him go. After you get some practice in, some timing at it, I think he'd be a guy that could do it. Because once again, if you got 4.4 speed, you got edge and pop off. I was a former offensive lineman. If you're looking at the edge, the fact that you got to negate a guy's speed. That's the first thing you have to do when you start talking about guys off the edge. So if you are a leader at getting off the ball and getting there, it's definitely something you can add to your game. 4.4 speed, all you have to do is learn like 1 or 2 moves. Like it wouldn't really be much for him to have to pick up for him to be effective in that position.
Yeah, I hope that I'm sure he will pick the brain of a London Fletcher, right? I was fortunate enough to share the field with London, and we would break the huddle in practice. He'd be like, screen, screen, screen. I'm like, how you know already? Like I ain't got out the hash yet. You talk about screen, right? So London's, knowledge of the game, I'm hoping that he'll pour into him. He's getting to work with Ken Norton, great linebacker, played a long time in the league. And then he got to learn from James Laurinaitis up there, who they say is one of the best linebackers in the NFL, or in the linebacker coach, I should say. And then I was looking at FanDuel. Sonny Styles is plus 1,000 for the AP Defensive Rookie of the Year, behind Delane and Bain and Caleb Downs. You think he can make a push and probably be that guy?
I definitely think so, right? If we look at last year, I'm from Cleveland. I'm a Cleveland Browns fan. And then, the guy we took in the second round was a Mike linebacker. He, I think, led definitely the team in tackles. He had a great tackle this season, played through some injuries, tough as a nail. He went out there and got it done. So you've seen people in that, like I said, just last year, that bubble linebacker position kind of win that award. But you just kind of have to do it, right? The NFL is different. The NFL could be tricky, especially for rookies coming in and the learning curve. So you kind of have to, for one, stay healthy, right? You got to be available. And we all know that could be a tall task for anyone playing football. And secondly, just kind of go out there and compete, right? You just getting yourself into situations. It's a long season. You got to, grind it out and keep putting yourself in positions. And obviously, when you start talking about the Commanders, you guys are up there, right? You guys don't plan on taking a step back. You had a disappointing season last year. So this year is going to be a lot of to kind of win some games, go out there and compete and be a better defense. So I think he'll have to kind of embrace some of that, go out there and compete hard, and you pray that he stay healthy. And I think he definitely could put himself in the conversation for that rookie defensive player of the year.
Love that.
Bryant Browning is our guest from Bleav in Buckeyes. Scott Jackson, Anthony Armstrong, Bleav in Commanders. You're part of the Bleav Network. We are brought to you by FanDuel. You mentioned some of the other guys that went in front of him. Really, I mean, I think, Anthony, you and I were like the last week of the draft. We're focused on, okay, is it going to be Downs or is it going to be Tate or Delane? Were like the 3 choices we thought the Commanders would have. Let me start with you on Tate. What do you think about him? I mean, I've heard all the knocks about him. I don't believe half of them because Terry McLaurin, I don't know what his number was at Ohio State in terms of receiver, like if he was the 3rd or 4th receiver, but he's been a number 1 receiver in the NFL. I don't care that Tate wasn't the 1-1 at Ohio State. I saw the kid play in high school, and I thought he looked like a pro then. So what did you see from him? And do you think that the Titans did the right thing getting him in there at 4 to go, with their quarterback, Cam Ward?
Yeah, I think they definitely made a good decision. I mean, if you think about Tennessee Titans last year, I think their best receiver was blanking on his name, but the guy
Calvin Ridley.
Calvin Ridley, out of Atlanta, right? and he had an up and down season, right? He wasn't healthy very much. I think when he was out there, he was able to make some plays. But, whenever, and I was going to kind of gripe on this about you guys as well, whenever you got that quarterback on that rookie deal, you got to load the team up with talent, right? Because eventually, if the quarterback is good, you got to pay him a lot of money, then you start losing talent in other positions. So, in my mind, you load the team up with talent. You give a Cam Ward a true number one target, someone that could go out there each and every Sunday and get it done. And you just look at what Hartline, our former wide receiver coach, has, what he's done, right? You got JSN, you got McLaurin, you got now you have Cardell Tate,
Garrett Wilson.
Garrett Wilson. You got Chris Olave down at the Saints. You just got all these guys, who's been able to transition to the NFL and really make an impact for their team. So I Bleav Cardell Tate would be another one of those products. So I Bleav Tennessee did make the smart decision in getting him a weapon. Because if not, we don't know what we're gonna have out of your quarterback. He has no one to play with, no one to give great targets to. What do you know? You don't know much because you didn't do the job of putting talent around him. So I think picking up a Tate would definitely help out that program for sure.
Look like I just got some company getting back. They want to join in the show. We heard them talking about Sonny Styles. They screaming in the backfield.
They're excited. I understand.
What about Caleb Downs going to Dallas? I mean, that made me want to throw up in my mouth that the Cowboys got him, but got to see him twice a year. And I like the player, and usually they find a way to make things messy down there. So what do you think of the fit there? Him going to the Cowboys, and what kind of impact he'll have?
Well, obviously, that's a rival for you guys, but definitely a smart pick by Dallas. I think they had to trade up to get to that spot to pick him. I think they made a good decision. Obviously, Dallas over the last several years, you say what you want to say about Dak, but the offense tends to kind of score enough points to kind of keep them in games. The knock has been the defense. So you go out there and you get your leader. You got to go out there like you guys did. Go out there, get you a defender that you could play week one of the season. That's going to check a lot of boxes, do the right thing, and be in the right place to make yourself a better defense. So I know you guys don't like it, but I think the Cowboys made a smart decision in picking up a Caleb Downs. And I think just like both of you guys, I think both of you guys did a great job, and you got pieces that could protect your program for multiple years.
Let me ask you this. We always look at the tape. You want to see obviously what's great, but then there's always going to be some areas of improvement. So just what areas would you expect to see Sonny need to improve or grow in to make sure he maximizes his career?
Well, first, I said it multiple times already, right? But rushing, right?
Yeah.
Edge, rushing, beating offensive linemen, knowing that this guy's coming and winning right away. That's something he had to learn and bring to his game. But like I say, he's only been in this position now. This would be going into his third season playing linebacker. So when you talk about good linebackers, like James Laird-Niles, who I played against in college and practiced against for 3 seasons, I was with the Panthers with a Luke Kuechly and the talent he was at the linebacker positions and the Thomas Davis. Those guys, like you just said with London Fletcher, just due to the study in the game, you can kind of just see the offense might be trying to attack you coming out of the huddle and how they line up due to your study of the game. So I'm not going to say he doesn't have that, but he has to hone into it, right? That's something you kind of learn over time to have those instincts essentially right away. Hey, they line up in this formation due to my study. I know that this guy does this when they do this. Maybe it's outside zone. I need to get outside right away. Or, hey, due to the situation, hey, screen. This guy's lighting his hands. I can see whatever that read may be. You just kind of have to learn that with time and study. But that's going to be something that he has to bring to the game, especially if you guys want him to be elite at that position and anchor your defense, to study the thought process. What are you looking at? Where are your keys at? Continue to kind of grow and hone that. Because once again, he's just in year 3 at a linebacker position. So it just takes time to grow with that stuff.
Like a student of the game.
I wish the season started today. I don't know about you, Anthony.
He got me excited. I want to go peek into rookie minicamp and see what's going on. Because I love seeing like people break down tape and talk ball. Like that right there is almost my love language. Like, let's sit down, look at some tape, and just chop it up. I don't know if you feel that same way, Bryant, but I do. When they start talking tape, I'm like, ooh. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's what I'm
yeah.
looking at right there. Like,
Right.
show
It's
me.
almost like you can't get enough of it, right?
Can't
It's
get
like
enough of it. It was
you can't get
It
the
was
right.
boring when I was playing. It was boring sitting in the meeting, you in the back sleep. But
Mhm.
nowadays, you like, man, you see that he's on the outside edge. Oh, he's about to do this. Boom, 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 boom. It's a beautiful thing. I love it when football's playing at a high level.
Yeah.
And one of my biggest things is since the Commanders' defense was horrible last year. I mean, I ain't even gonna cut it. Be nice with it. They were horrible. I needed somebody to take 7 points off the board, and I think this selection of Sonny Styles is going to be exactly that. Being able to stop people on third down, maybe a key interception, just like you said, developing a rushing game, and finding a way to make an impact that way. So you want to help your quarterback out? Get him the ball back. Give him another possession, right? Hand that sucker back to Jaden Daniels and let him go out and do his thing. What you got, Scott? You got another question for him?
Well, let's ask him about Arvell Reese because another guy we're going to have to deal with all the time. Arvell Reese falling to the Giant. I thought it was a good pick. I know a lot of people are like, well, they don't need it rush in, but again, if you're going to overload on a position and then they could still move, Kayvon Thibodeau, which it sounds like they're trying to do. What did you make of that, and how do you see Arvell? How quickly of an impact guy? Because obviously that's what the Jets are going to be looking at, right, for years to come. If David Bailey isn't better than Arvell Reese, people are going to really be fired up about that.
Yeah, no, I think the Jets definitely they blew that pick. But no, I got a special spot for Arvell. So me and Arvell Reese, we from the same high school in Cleveland,
Okay.
Ohio.
Nice.
It's the same high school in Cleveland. So, and we have always identified him on the Bleav in Buckeyes as a special talent. So we've been talking about it for essentially 3 seasons since he stepped on campus, and obviously this season the world got to learn who he was. Right, he got to actually start, got to actually play. I think Coach Patricia did a great job at essentially unlocking him and putting him in definitely positions that you was like, well, what is he actually going to do here? They snap the ball and he wins. Oh,
Yeah.
that's what he's going to do here, right? You can put him on the edge and he's stone or offensive tackle. He run, if it's a pass, he rush around him with a pass rule move that he would say, like, I didn't even really even practice. It's kind of, I just thought to do it, right? In the moment, and it worked. So he's definitely, I would say, probably the most talented person to come off the board, and that's saying a lot when you start talking about Sonny Styles and Caleb Downs all being on the same defense. But it's just certain things that we got to see out of him already. Like I say, it's unnatural. I'm a former offensive lineman, right? And no matter all the guys we just named, I never really was. My only concern about linebackers was catching them. Like, okay, if it's a play that they're away, I got to hurry up and run and get there. I'm not really physically worried about blocking a linebacker. Like, even if he hit me first, I'm big. I'll be able to absorb it and recap. You've seen him in several situations just completely demolish offensive linemen in known situations. The guy know he has Reese. I need to go block him, and this due to his angle, power, hands, placement, he just completely win and destroys that block, which is just not the most natural thing that you see, especially you talking about a guy in their first year starting, first year actually being on the edge and seeing him do those certain situations. It's always special to see. Once again, I've been looking at him. I've been knowing him since high school. I knew he was a really good player. I think James Laurinaitis identified that as well, that he'd be a very special player. But Coach Patricia really figured it out, locked it, and put him out there, and we got to see him do those things and pursue and all that kind of things and tackle, and it made him that high of a pick for the Giants.
My goodness, y'all just stacked up there for the Buckeyes, man. Just keep bringing them in. I asked you pre-show, I was like, I'm gonna ask you about the future of the linebacker position up there. There's a young fella by the name of Riley Pettyjohn, and now that Sonny Styles is gone, Arvell Reese is gone, he's probably going to get one of the first dibs on coming in next. So just what do you think about him? And then this will be a little teaser for everybody to go check out Bleav in Buckeyes to hear more about it as it goes along. What do you got about Riley Pettyjohn?
Yeah, so I think Riley, he's definitely another great young talent. Coming off this draft, right? You're talking about 2 linebackers that win the first top 10 picks, where and you could argue that like that's not even a part of the game no more, right? Bubble linebackers kind of start to get treated like running backs, where it's like, we kind of get them when we want to get them type of situation. And we had 2 come off the board, but I just think that's kind of first got to shout out James Laurinaitis and his recruiting and going to Texas and picking up a Pettyjohn and get him to come in. This past spring, he was nicked up. I think he had a shoulder injury, so he didn't really participate this past spring. But last year, he got to play in certain situations. Once we kind of got the lead and secure, we put him out there. You can see it, right? He's very natural to the position. It's something you can tell that he's where he's belong. It's at that linebacker position. He has the speed. He has the strength. He has everything that you need. So, from him, it's just like a young guy. You just got to keep learning and knowing the game, right? Certain situations. How do you handle it at the snap? If you see this, how do you want to fit up on that play? Continue to work those things and grow. I think eventually he will be the guy here at Ohio State this season coming up. Once again, we have some transfers come in. I just don't know, right? But I think he definitely deserves an opportunity to play in certain situations because he has the talent, he has the ability, and we don't want to lose him in that portal, so you got to get him out there.
Iron sharpens iron, man. And if I know anything about Riley, he ain't gonna shy away from some competition. So best of luck to him this season.
Yeah.
Bryant Browning, again, Bleav in Buckeyes podcast. Anthony, he has once again proved my theory, which when I used to go in NFL locker room daily, I'd always go to the offensive linemen. They had the most to say, and that usually were ignored for the quarterbacks and the receivers and all the pretty people. But they were the guys who had the most knowledge because they worked harder and studied harder. So, Bryant, awesome stuff, man. Appreciate all your insights and all the Buckeyes.
Oh, yeah. Thanks for having me on, guys. I really appreciate it. It was fun.
Yes,
all
indeed.
Right, well, it's good
appreciate
time.
it.
All right, check them out. Bleav in Buckeyes. Thanks to Anthony and Bryant. Bleav in Commanders, brought to you by FanDuel, part of the Bleav Network. Like, comment, and follow both these podcasts, Bleav in Buckeyes and Bleav in Commanders. And we will talk to you next time. See you.